Hi everyone, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. So today's just going to be a chatty video. I was trying to think of topics to talk to you about, and I've got some changes coming up in my life because my kids are going back to school next week. My two daughters are out of the house, but my two sons are still in high school and they start up again next week. So our whole schedule changes when that happens. And I always think of this time of year as more like the new year for me because it's the weather changes and our whole routine changes. So it's a great time for me to make changes in my own life, attend a class or exercise more or eat better. I sort of make those New Year's resolutions now because it just seems easier to do while we're in a period of transition. So I was going to talk to you a little bit more about that. And I had a request to do a Milani Get Ready With Me from my subscriber friend Diane. And I've been wanting to try these Milani Face Palettes. I think there's two of them, and I have the Smokey palette. And I chose this one because it's really different than colors I currently have in my makeup stockpile. It has like a lot of like smoky shades here, and these are your eyeshadows. You've got a highlighter, you've got a bronzer, and then you've got two blush shades. One is very kind of neutral and wearable, like mauve rose, and you can use this also as an eyeshadow. And you also have like this pop of really kind of brighter pink, which I really like. So I thought that I would create this look and just chat with you along the way. So I hope that you will stick around and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is put down my foundation, and I'm using the Milani Conceal and Perfect. I really like this foundation. I've only had it once before, and I did have to repurchase it for this video, but I didn't mind because I remembered that I really liked it in the past. They did change their packaging. I'll put a picture of the older packaging. I think the picture is the older packaging and this is the newer packaging. So that way you can identify it when you see it in your store, but it's basically the same exact formula. The only thing that's changed is the packaging, and it has a nice glass bottle. It does have a pump and a nice lid, and it's very simple and easy to use. Mine is in the shade Ivory, and it does come out like this. I did put a lot. I'm not going to use all that because this is a fuller coverage foundation. It's a medium buildable, and I feel that it's hydrating, but I think it dries down to like a very like satiny finish. I like to apply it with a beauty blender sponge, so I'm just going to put some on the sponge and pounce it around. So today is Monday, and it's our last full week of summer vacation for my boys. They start going back to school midweek next week. And I know I say it all the time about time flying, but it really is flying. My husband and I last night, it was like kind of took a sad walk. We took a walk with our dogs, and we're just kind of boo-hooing about how quickly the summer went by. But then we also tried to talk about all the fun things that we did this summer. But despite that, we concluded that the time just went by too fast. We did do just about everything we had on our bucket list this summer, but I know you can all agree with me. Time just seems to go so fast unless you're waiting for something, and then it goes by very, very slowly. And so that's what that looks like. Now it does claim to be a medium buildable coverage, but you can still see my freckles through it. And I put it on pretty light and sheer, and I have a pretty damp sponge, which adds some moisture to it and maybe waters it down a tad. But I really like applying it with a damp sponge, and that would be my recommendation if you don't really want that full coverage. If you apply it with like a dense, like flat top kabuki, you'll get a very full coverage. So if that's what you're looking for, I would recommend applying it that way. I also have the Conceal and Perfect concealer, and I don't know that you necessarily need it because the foundation is a concealer and foundation in one, but since I have this, I'm going to go ahead and use this to conceal. But first I'm going to put down some Milani eyelid primer, and this is like my favorite drugstore eyelid primer that all of you recommended to me when I was looking for a good drugstore eyelid primer. Okay, I've got that on. And now I have two palettes from Milani that I just purchased for this video. I've been really wanting to try them. I wanted to try one of the Milani face palettes, and these are really cool. I think there's two of them. And they look a little like the Charlotte Tilbury face palettes, at least the layout is the same. And this is what it looks like. And this one is like the Smoky palette. I'll link it below in the description box. And it has a highlighter, it has a bronzer, and then it has two blush shades. And I have used this already just to make sure I knew how I felt about it before sharing it with you. I didn't really want it to be a first impression. And the blushes are every bit as good as Milani blushes are known to be. They're really beautiful. The highlighter is really nice. And although the bronzer, it looks perfect for me and might look light for some of you, it's a very pigmented bronzer. So even if you have a skin tone that's a little more light medium, like you might tan a little bit, this would still work pretty well for you. If you have a deeper skin tone, it would be too light, I think. And then it's got three shadows. It's got like a matte creamy shadow. It's got like a matte black, and then it's got this shimmer. So it just has a simple look you can do using this one palette. And then I also picked up the Gilded Nudes palette, and I'm so happy that I did. This is a beautiful palette, and that's what this looks like. And it's just stunning. I'm so happy I picked this up. It's all the right colors. It's perfect for late summer, early fall. You could use it all year round, of course, but I think that it's perfect for this time of year. So I'm gonna use a little bit of both. I'm gonna try to use as much as I can from this face palette to get going, and then maybe I'll just take a couple colors out of the Gilded Nudes. So I'm gonna pick up the matte cream shade with just a big fluffy brush and apply that. It is a teensy bit dusty, the matte, but nothing crazy. So this time of year, for me, I treat it kind of like New Year's. Within me, I feel like it's a time of starting something new. I like to do like a lot of cleaning at the end of summer, like a lot of people do spring cleaning. I feel like my cleaning all happens like at the end of the summer. And I think that's mainly because my kids have been home, even though they're older, but we have a lot of coming and going now because my daughters come and they spend the weekend and they bring friends and things like that. So the house is sort of busier. And I feel like this is the time of year I like to do like a good purge and get rid of things and replenish things that are looking kind of used up and just do a good thorough house cleaning. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put on my bronzer because I also like to use a little bit of this bronzer in my transition for my eyeshadow. I'm just gonna use this fluffy brush from BK Beauty. This is just like a pointed fluffy complexion brush, and pick it up. It is pretty pigmented. And I'm just gonna do what I typically do, like the E on one side and the 3 on the other. Not really contouring as much as I'm just bronzing. So I also like to kind of look at my diet too. I tend to be really careful, more careful in the winter months with my diet than I am in the summer months. And I think that's because we have the holidays and we're hunkering at home more. So I feel like I need to watch it more. And then in the summer, I think, oh, I'm gonna be more active out walking, riding my bike and hiking and things like that. So I don't need to watch it as much. So at the end of the summer, that's when I typically notice that the scale is up a pound or 2. And I think that's mainly because I love summertime desserts. I love fruit. I love watermelon, cantaloupe, all those fruits you really aren't supposed to eat a lot of. I really love those. So I start to kind of look at my diet too and change things up. I'm gonna take the same fluffy brush that I used to put down the matte cream, and I'm gonna pick up a little bronzer with it. And so I am an intermittent faster. I've told you guys that like for the past, I've been an intermittent faster for about 6 or 7 years where I don't eat breakfast and I try to stay in a fast for, lately I've been trying to go 16 hours or 18 if I can. Usually by 17 hours, I'm pretty hungry and almost getting like a little bit cranky. So I try to push it to 18, but I can only do that like once or twice a week. And when I do that, I really do, like, I guess it has a name, OMAD, where it's 1 meal a day. And my window of eating is pretty small. So I eat like all my calories in that very short, what is it, like a 6-hour window. And yeah, that was very effective at helping me take off weight fast. But since I can't really do that every day, it's really hard and I get hungry, like I said, and I get cranky and I don't think it's the healthiest. I do 16-8 a lot of the days. And that's 16 hours fasting and then 8 hours where I can eat. So that's 16 hours fast and 8 hours where I can eat. And that's much easier because you are sleeping a big portion of that time. Okay, so there, I've just got my bronzer on, and I did kind of take that bronzer down my neck just to make sure everything's matching. So there's 2 blushes here, and there's this kind of darker, more rosy color, mauvey rose, and then you've got the brighter color right here, and that is really bright. It's like polar opposites, so it is kind of nice that there's 2 blushes like this in this palette. But what I like to do is just sort of blend them together. I just kind of swipe it down, and then I pick up more of the more like wearable color. So I've got a little bit of this on the brush and then a little more of that. And these are a bit dusty as well, so you gotta be careful. And I'm just going to apply my blush on the apples of my cheeks. And it's so pigmented. I'm gonna have to really blend this out. And I'm just gonna use a clean brush. This is like just kind of a stained brush, and I'm just gonna blend. It's so pretty, and I know that most of you have probably used Milani blushes in the past, and they're very long wearing as well, so these will not go anywhere. Milani makeup really does wear for a very long, full day, and I really like that. It's pretty high quality. So then when I break my fast after 16 or 18 hours, I always break my fast eating protein. I eat either chicken, or I'll eat a couple of hard-boiled eggs with some cheese and maybe some almonds. And I just try to eat protein whenever I start eating. And I steer away from cereals and carbohydrates that have a lot of sugar in them. So I definitely try to keep all that kind of food like out of my diet as much as I can. Okay, now I'm just gonna use the highlighter, and I've just got this larger, it could be used as an eye brush, or it can be used as whatever you'd like to use it for. But I like this brush, it's from Real Techniques, and I like this for highlighter. And it fits into that little square very nicely. And I just hit the tops of my cheekbones, and it's such a pretty highlighter. I mean, I hope you can see that. It's just got such a really pretty kind of natural glow to it. When I first saw it, I thought it looked a little too silvery, and that it would look too like metallic, like the Tin Man on The Wizard of Oz, but it definitely does not. It's really pretty and flattering, and it just adds that perfect amount of glow. So then after I break my fast, I've had that meal with a lot of protein, I try to eat again maybe 3 hours later, and I'll have like a salad. So, and it's usually full of like a lot of greens, different kinds of greens, not just iceberg lettuce. And I forego like candied walnuts or apples or things like that, but I do really like fruit in my salad. So I usually have like some raspberries, blackberries, or blueberries in my salad. And I do put nuts in my salad, but they're not sweet nuts. And usually a little bit of cheese, you know, a couple ounces of cheese. And that usually fills me up and gets me through until dinner time. Okay, now I'm gonna take the mauve blush on like a fluffy shader brush. I think I'm gonna try as hard as I can to stick with this one palette instead of dipping into the other palette, because I can show you then what this palette can do just having one palette for a full face. And I'm placing this on my mobile lid and just a little bit into the crease. I've already got the bronzer there for the transition shade. And I'm going to take the bronzer shade again, and I'm going to mix it a little bit with the shade that I put down on my mobile lid. I'm going to run it beneath my lower lash line. And then the other thing I'm doing is I signed up for Bible study because I stopped going to Bible study when COVID started and everything went to Zoom. And I just started doing my own thing at home. And now it's been a couple of years and I really miss it. So I signed up for information for 2 different Bible studies. One is BSF, and that's like Bible Study Fellowship, and it's all over the whole United States. It could even be in Europe too, I'm not sure, but everybody studies the same book of the Bible at the same time, and it's pretty intense. It's a fellowship, but it's not really as fellowshipy as like a community group where you really get to know the people in your group. It's much more serious. So I don't know what book they're studying this year. And that will start probably in September. So I need to get information about that. And I also put out an email to collect information for our church's Bible study, the women's group, and just see what they're offering this fall, because that's more of a community group where you kind of get to know people. And I think that would be good to get to know a bunch of new people, because I haven't done that in a while. I've been kind of staying with my group of friends and the people I know, and everything's been kind of sheltering at home and talking to your neighbors and people close by. So I think it's time to start kind of branching out and getting to know more people. So I might do that one depending on what they're studying. I'm just going to take a little angled brush and pick up the black, but I think I'm going to spray it with some Fix Plus first from MAC and dip into the black shade, the matte black, and I'm going to use it as my eyeliner. I don't usually use this brush for this, but it actually is working out pretty good. I usually use a much smaller brush, but sometimes a bigger brush is good because you can just get a lot of product on in a shorter amount of time. And this would be a good palette to use if you're in a hurry, and if there's like a step that you couldn't do at home, like if you're rushing to work or somewhere, you can throw the palette into your purse and just complete the look later. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit up here. So I'm excited because I got used to being a little more introverted during COVID, and now I think it's time to start getting out and living my life like I used to, where I had like a schedule that I followed every week and I did different things. Okay, now I'm going to take the same brush that I just lined my eyes with, and I'm going to dip into the silver. And you know, this is even a look you could pull off at work. It's not like overly sparkly or anything like that. I'm going to line my upper lash line with that silver. So are any of you starting anything new this fall? Do any of you like think like I do? Like it's almost like it's New Year's now and not really at New Year's. It just feels like it's New Year's this time of year because the season is changing. Everybody's routine and schedule is changing. And in January, that doesn't happen. Technically, it's the new year, but it's still winter and we're still following the same schedule and everything. So it's hard to make a New Year's resolution that I start. And in January, I like to start my New Year's resolutions now because I'm more likely to follow through. And now I'm just picking up the highlighter that I used on the tops of my cheeks with just one finger, and I'm tapping that in the center of my mobile lid. That's really pretty. Actually, I'm gonna run it onto the inside, the inner corner too. It's really pretty. I got a little beneath my eye that I wanna clean up. And this is the Conceal and Perfect Concealer. And this definitely is a full coverage concealer. So if you're looking for a good drugstore full coverage concealer, this is a good one. It says it's long wearing, and yeah, it's a good one. Nothing's gonna show through this. So the shade I have is called Light Vanilla, and this color is perfect to correct anything underneath my eyes because it has enough peachy undertones to just kind of correct any discoloration I have there as well. I don't have a Milani brow product. I don't think I've ever tried Milani's brow products before. So I'm just gonna go do my brows with the Brow Power from IT Cosmetics. It's like a universal brow product. So depending on how hard you press with it, the color changes. So if I use it really lightly, I can just draw like light little hair strokes, but you can also press harder and it's much darker. So I have mine in Universal Auburn. And yeah, I'll just do one brow real quick. And what I've been doing is just kind of brushing my brows up with either a brow tool or my fingers like I just did. And I extend the tail, making little strokes. And this is like a really good color for my brows. Just kind of fill them in here. And then I press a little bit harder and just make some like hair-like strokes in my brow to fill it in. I haven't been tweezing my brows. I've just been kind of letting them grow however they want to, because then I'll have them like groomed better. But I still have brow hair, but I'm not growing like tons and tons. So I feel like I'd rather have more brow hair than tweeze them and have less and draw it in more, if that makes sense. So do any of you have anything exciting happening this fall? I usually really look forward to the weather changing at fall time because I love pumpkin patches and I love creepy movies, and I love apple pie and Thanksgiving and all those things that go with fall. But this year, for some reason, I just have not been looking forward to it like I have in the past. I'm gonna have to like psych myself up to get into the mood and be happy, because whether or not I like it, it's coming. I live here in the Midwest, and not only is fall coming, but a really cold winter is probably coming right after that. So I really just have to adjust my attitude, and yeah, it gets harder as you get older though. Since I don't have a Milani mascara, I used the highly rated mascara before, and I can't remember why I didn't like it, but I wasn't impressed with it and I just didn't like it. And so I haven't tried another Milani mascara, but I do have another one from IT Cosmetics, since I used IT Cosmetics for my brows. And this is the IT Hello Lashes, and I really like this one as well. I also have the one that comes in like a dry bar brush. It looks like a round hairbrush. I can't remember what it's called, but I like this one better. And of course, I touch it to my skin the minute I try to apply it. So back to diet. The other thing is that I've mentioned to all of you before that I don't eat carbs very much. I try to eliminate them as much as I can, like starchy rice, potatoes, grains, and I try to be as grain-free as I can be, because that's what makes me kind of get bloated and put on weight. And I actually just don't feel very good when I eat a lot of grains. But the one allowance I make is popcorn, and I love popcorn. I air pop it, and then I have like an olive oil aerosolizer. So I just spritz a little bit of olive oil on it, and then I have popcorn salt that I shake on it. And I try not to eat that too much because it is high in sodium, but I really love popcorn, and it's a good source of fiber, and so that's one of the allowances I make because I really love popcorn a lot. Okay, I've got my mascara on, and now I'm gonna go back into like the highlight color in here, and I'm just gonna put a little bit in the arch of my brow just for that luminosity in the arch, which I think is so pretty. And I think I'm gonna also kind of just brighten up the inner portion of my eye. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that darker color, the darker blush color here. Kind of black in the outer corner and blend. I have two lipsticks from the new collection from Milani. This isn't like super new, but it's newish. And I have Lingerie, and this is the balmy type, so it's more like a balm. And this is just a really pretty pink that I think is perfect for it still being summer moving into fall. And I'm gonna try this one on and show it to you. And it's a really pretty sheer pink, a raspberry or cherry pink, not a very light like bubblegum pink. And it feels really balmy and it feels really nice on my lips. And I think I'm gonna take this off though today, and I'm gonna use one of the matte colors, and this is called Pleasure, and I'll show you this one. I think it'll go a little bit better with the whole look, but I like them both, so I wanted to let you know about this one. I wonder if I could get this one in like a more fall type shade. I'll have to check. First, I'm gonna add a little of the retractable liner, and this is in Cafe au Lait from Milani, and I'm just gonna put this on. And that's a really pretty kind of taupey nude. And now I'm gonna go in with Pleasure, and it is a matte, and this is what it looks like. Sort of like, I don't know, like an orangey matte. I think it's gonna be really pretty for fall. It's just like a nice nude, actually. And these are cushiony mattes. They're not drying mattes at all. Very cushiony and soft on the lips. So this is the finished look, and I'm really happy that I was successfully able to achieve the whole look using just this palette and not dip into the other one. And this is the Smoky palette. There is another one, and I believe that one is a little bit more daytime, more, you know, just softer. And if I can find a picture of it, I'll put it up on the screen. But I would like to try that one eventually too. But they do really remind me of the Charlotte Tilbury face palettes. There is a nice mirror in here, and they're laid out exactly the same way. And I think it's a great palette to have. You know, you can travel with it, you could take it with you in your purse and finish up your look wherever you are trying to get to in a hurry, or you can even take it from a daytime look to an evening look by using a little more of this deep dark charcoal color in the outer corner. Maybe put the silver all over your mobile lid, a little more underneath, and you got yourself a nice nighttime look. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hit like on your way out, and I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see you next time.